Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone to the September 19th, 2024 regular meeting of the Forsyth County Commissioners. Today, Bishop Seth Larte from the AME Zion Church is going to deliver our invocation, but I do want to introduce him just a little. Actually, Reverend Larte actually was the former pastor of Goler AME Zion Church, and he actually left us for 4 years to go back to his home country of Liberia, where he served and served then as a bishop. He was promoted, and he just returned in the last just several months. And I had a chance to talk to him some in the past, good long past. We actually worked on some violence prevention issues, particularly for youth violence prevention issues. And he actually contacted me and said he's starting to work he's renewing that effort and is working with a number of organizations, and he asked if he could come and speak to the commissioners. And I said, well, you can come if you deliver the invocation. So that's kind of a trade-off. But anyway, he is going to speak very briefly about his latest efforts on youth violence, deliver an invocation, and when he's finished, Commissioner Gray Wilson will actually lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll ask everyone to stand when we get to that point. So, Bishop Larte, you are on.
Thank you so very, very much, Commissioner, Mr. Chairman, members of this august board. It is indeed my delight to be here with you and recall many, many years ago when we used to come through these places. We came to this town in 1992. From 1992 until 2012, we have seen many wonderful things happen, and we want to thank you for all that you've done to invest in education and infrastructure, etc. But when we came, we were given an area that was basically abandoned. I tell people that sometimes people used to come on the weekend in the Gola area and bring their trash. But today you no longer bring trash. You have the Innovation Center and everything else, so we thank God. But we're here today really to share with you a proof of concept that we are excited about. It is entitled Tiara 105. And what is Tiara 105? Tiara 105 is the total reduction of crime, violence, theft, poverty, and the promotion of positive citizenship. We realize that if you want to reduce crime, theft, violence in the community, it has to be comprehensive. The faith community must be involved, economics must be involved, health must be involved, housing must be involved. It's going to take all of us to make it happen. As a matter of fact, the first wave of campaign is to enlist 130,000 people in Forsyth County who will become advocates. I want to thank our chair for signing on to be one of those to share with us and covenant to encourage and to promote that kind of environment where people can live, learn, and enjoy life in Forsyth County. And this program is a national program, and Forsyth County will have the enviable historical designation of being the birthplace of Tiara 105 that is sponsored by the organization that we have put together, the New Frontier Alliance. One of the beautiful things about this program, we're not coming to start anything new. What we have discovered after talking to many organizations, there are gaps. Many people doing great things, but no one knows what each other are doing. And so this is going to become like a spider web. And what this is going to be like, taking an old Cadillac. Any of you love Cadillac? Anyway, take an old Cadillac and put brand new engines into it. And what I mean by that is we're going to be looking at all of the organizations in Forsyth County that are actually doing something that is making a difference. Not just here, but what difference are you making? And we'll ask you to come together and we'll track what you're doing to see if we're having performance and transformation out of the dollars that are being spent. It is our goal, it's our hope that if we collaborate, if we are comprehensive, if we are tracking, if we have data, by the grace of God, we can reduce crime, we can reduce violence, we can reduce theft. I'm sure you know that theft is a $100 billion problem for America, and North Carolina has its share. But by the grace of God, we can make a difference. And I thank you so much for listening. And the chairman said that the trade-off was I was to do invocation. So with that being said, just let me say to all of us that the Word of God says, if you delight in Him, He will give you the desires of your heart. Let us pray.
Let's stand if you're able.
Gracious God, our Heavenly Father, we thank you for grace. We thank you for mercy. We thank you for this board with the courage to invoke your presence in this meeting. You know the challenges. You know all that we are dealing with. But God, you've called upon us and said, if you call upon me, I will answer you and I will show you great and mighty things. And so, God, we pray that you will show this board great and mighty things. Give them wisdom, give them knowledge, give them understanding. And then, Lord, we pray for good health. We pray for the resources. We pray for a county where we're working together, struggling together, building together to make a difference for all of us, where no one is a small I or big U or big U and a small I, but we all are one in your sight. We ask your favor, we ask your blessings, we ask your anointing upon this meeting, that something good will be done to bless your people, bless our chair and the board members and this county, in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
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 I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Bishop.
You're welcome.
Citizens who are interested in participating in the public session portion of the meeting, you may do so here by signing up with a card out front and bring it in if you haven't already done so, and give it to our clerk at the end of the dais. But you can also participate by telephone by calling 336-422-1200. That number again is 336-422-1200. And if you do call in, you'll be placed on hold until the public session begins. The first item on the agenda is a proclamation recognizing September 20th, 2024 as Smart Start of Forsyth County Day. And Dr. Lewis Finney is here, and his number of his staff members to receive the resolution. Commissioner McDaniel is going to read it, and then she will come down and hand it to you and invite all of the folks to come forward, and we'll take a picture. Commissioner McDaniel.
Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate you. As a second-term board member of Smart Start, it brings me joy to read the proclamation recognizing September the 20th, 2024 as Smart Start of Forsyth County Day in Forsyth County, North Carolina. Whereas Smart Start of Forsyth County has worked to ensure all young children enter school healthy and prepared for success throughout Forsyth County for over 30 years. Whereas the first 5 years of life are a critical window of development, shaping a child's brain's architecture and building the foundation for future cognitive, social, emotional, behavior, and health outcomes. Whereas high-quality birth to 5 strategies and programs focusing on early education health and well-being, and family support create better K through 12 and post-secondary educational opportunities for students and a more skilled workforce for employers. Whereas Smart Start of Forsyth County supports quality early care and education, preventative health services, and family support for children from birth to 5 years old, and has a proven track record in improving early childhood education, promoting healthy births, preventing child abuse and neglect, and enhancing family support systems. Whereas Smart Start coordinates services, raises awareness, creates collective impact across North Carolina for children and families, generating a systemic changes to ensure that the comprehensive well-being of our county's youngest citizens. Whereas Smart Start of Forsyth County is committed to promoting equity and ensuring all children can benefit from the resources and opportunities they need to succeed. Whereas addressing adverse childhood experiences and fostering childhood resiliency are crucial in developing healthy, adaptive, and successful individuals. And Smart Start plays a key role in all these efforts. Whereas Smart Start of Forsyth County recognizes and supports early childhood teachers and providers as the essential workforce behind the workforce and its important role they play in helping children and families thrive in enhancing North Carolina's economy. Whereas Smart Start of Forsyth County helps to provide critical infrastructure for the early childhood systems through collaborations and partnerships with state and federal agencies and nonprofits, bridging service gaps and providing needed administration to statewide programs, and whereas investing in high-quality early childhood initiatives like Smart Start of Forsyth County can yield substantial long-term benefits for children, families, and society through increased educational attainment, higher earnings, reduced crime, and better health outcomes. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners hereby recognizes September the 20th, the Smart Start of Forsyth County Day in Forsyth County, and encourages all citizens to increase participation in the efforts of Smart Start of Forsyth County to strengthen the communities in which we live. Adopted on this day, the 19th of September, 2024. Thank you,
Second
Chair.
that motion. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you.
Sit on the board.
That's all right.
That's okay.
Are you going to go down and hand
Oh.
up? Yes, thank you. Dr. Finney, you and your staff come forward, and actually Todd Luck will take your picture, so invite your folks, please come up, and we can you can get in the center in a little semicircle, and there you go.
Mr. Finney.
Thank
would
you
like
all
to
for
have
the
a-
great work that you do.
Mr. Finney
Appreciate
would
it.
like to have a few comments.
Oh, sure.
Yes, sir.
Certainly, Louis. Go right ahead.
Thank you. I'll try to be brief. Dr. Finney, President and CEO of Smart Start of Forsyth County. I'm going to say greetings first to the Board of County Commissioners, as well as our county manager. Just on behalf of our staff, our Board of Directors, but also the over 15,000 children and families that we touch each day. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Since 1994, Forsyth County has contributed about $300 million from our Smart Start program to over 100 nonprofits and private child care providers throughout this community. And we're proud of that. We're also proud of the fact that this is the first time that the city, the county, as well as the state unanimously actually declared Smart Start Month or Smart Start Day. And last week, I was actually pleased to be invited by the governor and also some legislators to actually celebrate and Rally, Smart Start Day. I'm really proud and pleased to hear some people talk about what we're doing in Forsyth County. So I really want to thank you all again about the great work you're doing, but also in supporting us as a community, one child and one family at a time. Thank you.
The next item of the agenda is a resolution delegating approval authority of volunteer fire department requests for to purchase, lease, construct, design, finance, mortgage, or enter into any contract for the acquisition or disposition capital property under $50,000 to the county manager. We briefed this last week. We've had a chance to review it. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Vice Chair Wizenhunt. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Linville. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes for the meeting of September the 5th, 2024. Do we have a motion?
Move approval.
Have a motion by Vice Chair Wizenhunt. Second, please. I'll second. Both seconded, Commissioner McDaniel and myself. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Madam Clerk, do we have any callers or speaker cards?
Mr. Chairman, we have 8 speaker cards,
All right.
and let me check to make sure we don't have any calls. And we do not have any callers, we just have 8
All right.
speaker cards. The first speaker is Philip Carter. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and distinguished county commissioners. My name is Philip Carter, address 965 Fowle Street, Winston-Salem, zip code 27101. I come before you today as a lead member of the Coalition for Accountability and Transparency of Winston-Salem, Forsyth County. Today, we're calling on you, our Forsyth County commissioners, I repeat, not to approve the 2 contract resolutions for O&G Dunn Company. Our concerns stem from the company's historical ties to Jim Crow racism in New Bern, North Carolina, as well as its dominance in providing election services throughout North Carolina for over 5 generations. Given the closeness and significance of our 2024 presidential election, the coalition raises concerns over the potentiality of tampering with voter ballots and questions whether adequate safeguards are in place to ensure the integrity of our election process. We argue that transparency and fairness are critical and again urge you, our commissioners, to reconsider awarding this contract. The Coalition for Accountability and Transparency of Winston-Salem also suggests that the executive director of the Forsyth County Board of Elections immediately seek the services of another vendor. Also, if you, our county commissioners, decide to pass the resolution and the Board of Elections decide not to change vendors, the coalition urges both boards to demonstrate to the voters of Forsyth County publicly that their ballots will remain secure and that there will be no tampering with them during this election process. The transparency of our Forsyth County Board of Elections is essential to guaranteeing a fair and open democracy, which will foster voter trust and turnout. In closing, let me say, the Coalition for Accountability and Transparency of Winston-Salem further states that just as our Forsyth County voters are asked to show IDs at the polls, the Board of Elections and this body should likewise provide proof that there would be no voter tampering in the election process if this resolution passes, ensuring both accountability for voters and transparency from elected officials, which will maintain the integrity of our election processes. Thank you.
The next speaker is Shenita Johnson. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
And Ms. Johnson, while you're coming up, we're going to try to stick to 3 minutes. You're good. We didn't mention that at the beginning, but Mr. Carter was right on the money, so.
Oh, okay.
Right here.
I will not be that long. I'm Shenita Johnson, Chenita, Johnson, 2411 North Patterson Avenue in the city of Winston-Salem, County of Forsyth. Hello, Commissioners. I'm coming to you this afternoon because I'm the chair of the Haynes-Lawrence Precinct. And the issue of O.G. Dunn's contract has just come to our attention. And I would just like to say that before you decide to vote on it, that, that you really think about the issues of their history. It's very steeped in Jim Crow. And as you know, this year, our elections are just contentious. And we want to make absolutely sure that whomever is going to be scanning our ballots will have accountability, will be transparent, and will be accountable in these scanning of the ballots. So we just want to make absolutely sure that they are safe, they are secure, that they are secure, and that our voters throughout this county will feel that their votes will be counted properly. Also, I would just like to say that we are very, very, I won't say upset, but surprised that this has come through the Board of Elections. We think that it should have been really, they should have thought about it. They should have investigated before it has come to you now. But we do hope that, one, that you do not take this contract, but if you do, we just hope that we can make sure that there's accountability and there's some transparency within the scanning of these ballots. Thank you.
The next speaker is Dr. Arnita Miles. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, County Commissioners. Mr. Chair, Dr. Arnita Miles, 5048 Wrangler Drive, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, District B. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. As a resident of Forsyth County, especially living in District B, when I pay my county taxes, it doesn't say District A or District B. It says those taxes go into one county pot. Of the $583 million budget of Forsyth County, its citizens are concerned about the spending of our tax dollars. Data, statistics, and an analysis of the Forsyth County budget reveals that there are huge disparities in the fairness, the diversity, and the equality of the funding resources of Forsyth County, especially District A, where the majority of our African American citizens reside. Those disparities are found in the funding or lack of funding in healthcare, education, safety, community, economy, development, homelessness, county salaries, and the spending of, or the potential spending of this contract for voting. In 2011, 2012, and 2013, we were able to show that there was disparities in the voting system in Forsyth County, and this was concurred by the State Board of Elections. County Commissioners, it is the request of our community that you ask our new county manager to conduct an investigation and report back to the county commissioners and the community the spending without a blind eye, the disparities in the spending of our budget. I thank you for your time, and especially make sure when you talk about Forsyth County that you include the entire county, not just District B, but District A as well, because our taxpayers demand and deserve that. Thank you.
Olivia Doyle, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Olivia Doyle, 112 West Devonshire Street, 27127. I just recently learned about this O&G Dunn company contract, and I've got some concerns because I've learned that this company with which the county is contracting for voting equipment may have a history of printing explicitly racist images of Black children in New Bern, North Carolina. And it concerns me that the county is considering renewing their contract for the upcoming election with them. I can't say that I'm shocked or surprised that a longstanding North Carolina company has committed anti-Black actions, nor that the county has historically contracted with such a company without investigating that racist history. But now that we're aware of it, we of the county have an opportunity to hold this company accountable for admitting and making amends for advancing violence against Black children in this state. And so I just ask that the county do this by cutting its contract with the Dunn Company, not approving these 2 resolutions, and by conducting a comprehensive analysis of the anti-Black actions of their contractors. Just as a note on this company in this part of the state, my whole family is from the east side of the state. My family's been from the east side of the state since like the 18th century. What does that mean? We have enslavers in our family, right? So I know that this history runs deep, and I know that it runs long, and I know that it is not just historical, and that it continues to play out in the present day. We see it in the disparities in Forsyth County that Dr. Miles was just mentioning. And it's just helpful and beneficial for us to be straight up about that, to actually recognize that in the way that we are spending our money in the current moment, because we have opportunities to change those behaviors, to make different choices, right? So, thank you.
The next speaker is John Cox. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, John Cox, 5255 Sullivan Town Road in Walkertown. So I am retired from Forsyth County Sheriff's Office. I spent 15 years in the public safety field, the Walkertown Fire Department, and then I got into the Sheriff's Office. I had to retire on medical, but since then I have come into contact with a group. It's based out of Minnesota. It's called 3D Response Systems. It's sad that we have to talk about this, but with all the school shootings, every time something happens, administrators, politicians, parents are saying, what could we have done? So I have reached out on the state level. I have reached out on the county level to try to let people know within our own government that this system is here. It's a very in-depth, multi-layered system. It takes longer than 3 minutes to explain. But in a nutshell, and if you think about a fire alarm system, at the push of a button, the doors have 1,200 pounds of magnetic force. The doors can be ballistic rated, level 8. The law enforcement is notified within 60 seconds of the address and room number where the activation is, which also helps law enforcement have a better idea of where to go when they're responding. What I'm asking for the county commissioners is either today or some other time, I would like to go further in depth on what this system does. I'm going to reach out to some PTOs at some local schools, because what I'm running into is I'm sending emails and phone calls, but nobody's ever calling back. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when this happens. I am a stepfather of a teenager that died from a gunshot wound. And every time I see this, and every time I've seen things, whether it be from the sheriff's office or the fire department, I see families. I've been there. I know what they go through. And it's time for the people to stop having to ask why this happened or what could we have done to prevent this. And I'll finish up by saying this. If our system had been installed at Uvalde, there would have been no loss of life, none. That being said, there would be no multi-billion-dollar lawsuits. We have run a side-by-side scenario with Uvalde, and also the shooting in Tennessee. And the shooter in Tennessee would have been eliminated in half the time that they were had our system been involved. So our system is out there. I just need some way, shape, fashion, or form, whether it be from parents, whether it be from y'all, whether it be from Sheriff Kimbrough, the superintendent of Forsyth County Schools. I just want to get some ears and say, look, this is here because if something happens, parents are going to come up and say, well, what could we have done? Right here it is. I kind of got caught off guard. I only have 6 pamphlets, but I've got several business cards, so I'll give them to Ashley, and y'all can look over it. So if you want to do something later today or another time, you can reach out to me. So that's it.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Robert Dura. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. Robert Dura. I live at 2456 Kingsgate Drive here in Winston-Salem, Forsyth County. And I'm the chairman of the Board of Elections. And I want to speak with you briefly about the circumstances with which we are confronted. It's been brought to our attention by our Director of Elections that concerns have been raised regarding a company, Printellect, that is under consideration for 2 contracts that will affect the conduct of the upcoming 2024 general election. The Board of Elections understands the gravity and concern of the postcard picture that was printed by the company's predecessor in 1902, 122 years ago. And we take all matters like this seriously. We can certainly look into this matter further after the general election. However, we are less than 50 days away from Election Day and only 4 weeks away from the start of early voting. Basically, what we get from the companies are ink and paper, and we get those ballots printed with that ink, and that's about what we get from them. The work for absentee voting has already started, and we are expecting high turnout with this being a presidential election year. In fact, there are now 8,000 requests for absentee ballots right now. So the Board of Elections has worked with Printellect in conjunction with ES&S since 2006. We've been pleased with their reliable and reputable service that they've provided to our county and do not wish to infringe on that work so close to the election, because what would happen if the Board of Elections did not assure voters that they could carry out their constitutional right to vote? That would be a huge problem. So we are committed to voters having the ability to cast a ballot in a free and fair election. So on behalf of the Board of Elections, I recommend that the Board of Commissioners approve the 2 contracts. Thank you for your time. I'd like to say this. Even if we had the opportunity to do something about what the company did in 1902, there probably isn't anybody around that we could discipline. So what I'm actually suggesting is that the photograph is a problem that we may not be able to find a resolution for. If we take away the contract, we will only be endangering our opportunity to provide services to voters so that voters can cast their ballots. And I think that that would be a gross misstep on our part, because voters expect to be able to participate in the elections as guaranteed by the Constitution. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Katherine Jordan, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hello, I'm Katherine Jordan, the Vice Chair of the Forsyth County Board of Elections, 3131 Waterford Road, 27106. Mr. Chair and other county commissioners, thank you for taking time. Thank you for hearing Chair Dura. I just wanted to make a couple of other comments in addition to what our chair has said. I think that the county commissioners perhaps are concerned about the Forsyth County and by extension the Board of Elections, and also the citizens who've spoken today are concerned that you might be doing business with an overtly racist company. And I agree that we as stewards of our respective organizations need to be mindful of efforts to disenfranchise selective groups in society, and I would support any effort to bring injustice to light, whether it be racial, gender-based, or approaching people in their lives differently because of economic and educational differences. But I'm concerned that this situation does not rise to the standard worthy of our efforts. I think we've had several people from Smart Start, Pastor, speak about events that are happening now, current events that we really need to pay more attention to and put our energies and our efforts into rectifying those situations. But I would like to say, just to read into record, some research we did about Printellect and Alpha Graphics, which is the company we're talking about, that purchased the printing company from O&G Dunn in 2012. And I think you have this information that was sent to you by our Director of Board of Elections, Tim Suji. An image of the postcard from 1902 printed by O&G Dunn Company, Printellect's predecessor, was presented at a recent Forsyth County Commissioners meeting. The postcard contained a picture of a historical photograph by Bayard Wooten, a professionally published local photographer. She was known for her imagery of rural Southern life, including African Americans and poor Southern whites. And he includes an article, and I'm going to leave that article for your perusal later. In 1928, Mrs. Wooten moved to Chapel Hill, where she portrayed subjects unique to the South, most notably including the photographic record of Black and white Americans in the lower reaches of society. According to her biography, Light and Air by Jerry Cotton, in North Carolina, you don't approach somebody's property, said Mr. Liddy. You figure in 1900 to the late 1930s, she was going into back roads, approaching people, and taking these pictures of former slave sharecroppers and tobacco workers. She was born in Newborn and had the local printer, Mr. Dunn, print some of her art. So I think that this was a woman who was trying to highlight some of the severe conditions that existed in the just 40 years after the Civil War. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
The last speaker is Unice Campbell. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Unice Campbell, 5743 Antietam Drive, 27106. I stand before you today as a concerned citizen of Forsyth County, representing the voices of many who live in District A, home to a large portion of our Black community. We are here to address significant disparities that affect our district, disparities in health, education, safety, and economic development. Symptoms of a deeper issue, a chronic lack of economic mobility and opportunity. District A has been systemically underinvested for years, and the data reflects this reality. Recent spending analysis for fiscal year 2023-24 paints a troubled picture. The county spent nearly $291 million, but only 1.8% of that went to historically underutilized businesses, and that's out of a certain budget. Of that, a mere 0.27%, or just $800,000, was spent with Black-owned businesses. This is not just missed business opportunities. This underinvestment directly impacts the quality of life in District A, creating barriers to affordable housing, stifling economic growth, and limiting job creation. And the ripple effect of this economic neglect is evident in health, education, and safety of our community. In health, District A faces challenges due to lack of public health initiatives and resources for low-income and minority populations. Residents are suffering, and the county's commitment to a healthy community remains unfulfilled in our district. In education, the situation is just as dire. Our schools are underfunded, our infrastructure is deteriorating, and our children are left behind. This directly contradicts the county's goal of creating educational opportunities for all. In terms of safety, the high crime rates we see are the predictable outcomes of sustained economic underdevelopment. Our community's safety cannot be ensured without addressing the root cause of poverty and lack of opportunity. As the county manager, Ms. Robinson plays a crucial role in reversing these disparities. We call on her to prioritize District A in her budget recommendations and operational plans to ensure that the county's resources are distributed equitably. The time for talk is over. Within the next 30 days, we're requesting Ms. Robinson to present a comprehensive plan to address these disparities, and we expect this plan to be shared directly with the citizens of District A on our turf in our community so that we can provide feedback and help shape the path forward. This printing contract is a prime example of what I'm saying. This contract, minority businesses are not getting their fair cut of our taxes. It's apparent. Minority businesses are not. How do you even measure that? I don't know this company. I don't know its growth. I don't know the history. But how many Black people does this company employ? How many women does this company employ? These are the type of questions that should be looked at when you're spending county money. Because when you have over 40% of the population Black, then we expect those type of considerations to be put in place. As Margaret Mead once said, never doubt that a small, one sentence, I'll finish.
See if you can wrap it up.
I'm wrapping it up right now. As Margaret Mead once said, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, concerned citizens can change things. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. Let's work together to ensure Forsyth County lives up to its promise of being a place where every community thrives. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that is it.
All right, thank you. We will now turn the meeting over to the county manager, actually for our regular agenda items. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, Commissioner, staff, and guests. These items before you have been briefed twice from the board and questions answered. Agenda item number 5 is a resolution authorizing the appropriation of interest earnings in the Pandemic Response Special Revenue Fund and transfer to the general fund to aid in the development of the Community Grants Program. B is an amendment to the Pandemic Response Special Revenue Fund to appropriate interest earnings and transfers to the general fund. And C is an amendment to the fiscal year 24-25 budget ordinance to appropriate $78,000 from the Pandemic Response Special Revenue Fund to aid in the development of the Community Grants Program. Essentially, this item allows staff to continue to fund the ARPA administrator position as well as develop the Community Grants Program.
Is there a motion? Motion to approve by Commissioner Bessie.
Second.
Second by Commissioner McDaniel. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 6 is the adoption of the 2025 Housing Grants Project Ordinance in the amount of $397,825.
We have a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner McDaniel. Second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Agenda item number 7 is an amendment to the 2020 Radio System Upgrade Capital Projects Ordinance to accept a transfer from the general fund for radios for Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools in the amount of $1,706,805.
I'll be happy to make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Wizenhunt. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 8 is an amendment to the fiscal year 24-25 budget ordinance to appropriate $1,112,080 from the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services for Agreement Addendum 716, which is the COVID-19 vaccination program. This funding will be used in any efforts or items to deliver COVID-19 vaccines to the community.
Move to approve.
Motion approved. Commissioner McDaniel's motion, second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 9 is an amendment to the fiscal year 24-25 budget ordinance to appropriate $1,008,877 from the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services for Agreement Addendum 117, which is the Public Health Infrastructure Local Workforce Development. This funding will be used for public health workforce development efforts and modernizing or increasing the capacity of systems at public health.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner McDaniel.
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Wizenhunt. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 10 is an amendment to the fiscal year 25 budget ordinance to reconcile the medication-assisted treatment grant in the Sheriff's Office budget. The FY25 adopted budget included $130,493. This item appropriates the balance of $248,398.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner McDaniel. Second by Commissioner Wilson. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 11 is a resolution ratifying a contract between Forsyth County, North Carolina Department of Public Safety, and Youth Collaborative, Inc. for youth-intensive intervention services from Project X, and associated amendment to the fiscal year 25 budget ordinance to appropriate intensive intervention funding from the North Carolina Department of Public Safety. It's in an amount not to exceed $128,296.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner McDaniel.
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Wizenhunt. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 12 is a resolution authorizing execution of a service subscription agreement with True IP Solutions, LLC, to provide hosted voice services for Forsyth County. This is a 5-year rate-based contract in an amount not to exceed $168,000 annually.
Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Motion approved by Vice Chair Wizenhunt.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Linville. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 13 is a resolution ratifying and authorizing execution of an interlocal agreement between Forsyth County, the City of Winston-Salem, and the Town of Kernersville regarding the shared use of the North Carolina Governor's Highway Safety Program Traffic Safety Project Grant Award for the continuation of the Forsyth County DWI Joint Task Force, and an associated resolution ratifying and authorizing execution of a mutual assistance agreement between Forsyth County, the City of Winston-Salem, and the Town of Kernersville for temporary assistance in enforcing the laws of North Carolina. That's what this item is.
Do we have a motion? Motion approved by Commissioner Bessie.
Second.
Second by Commissioner McDaniel. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda items number 14 and 15 can be taken together. Number 14 is a resolution authorizing execution of an agreement with O&G Dunn Company doing business as Print Elect for the purchase of toner consumables for the election systems and software ballot on demand printers in an amount not to exceed $67,825. And 15 is a resolution with the same company, contract with the Forsyth County Board of Elections and O&G Dunn Company doing business as Print Elect for the purchase of replacement batteries for DS200 precinct tabulators and express vote ballot marking devices in an amount not to exceed $61,449.45. I know there have been some questions about this item. The Elections Board Chair, Robert Dura, is here. If there are any additional questions, as well as Elections Director Tim Suji is available virtually today if there's additional questions.
Is there a motion?
I have a substitute motion.
Let's see. So we can get a motion first.
Well, I heard Vice Chair
Motion by
Wisenhunt.
Vice Chair Wisenhunt, and do we have a second? I'll second it.
Thank you. I have an alternative motion to actually accept the staff alternative to allow only ES and S to apparently print the ballots, and then also to table the recommendation of O&G Dunn doing business as Print Select to service the equipment to confer with ES and S until next Thursday.
We have a substitute motion. Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of a second. Now, is there any discussion on the original motion?
Yes, Chairman, I would like to share my sentiments and thank you for a moment of privilege. I will say that I did do my research, and as I read, I found that O&G Dunn and Printellect did have a diversity and equal employment policy. In fact, they have a very robust discrimination and harassment policy, which was mentioned in their handbook. And their policies were inclusive and culturally sensitive. So to the fact about this photo that was driven over 100 years ago, it is protected by the First Amendment constitutional rights, which regards to taking a picture in public, it's protected by your constitutional rights. In over 100 years, as Chairman Dura mentioned, Owen Dunn's company's business is just to print paper. They didn't have anything to do with the photo. And lastly, it's my sentiments to share that I will not belabor approximately 65,000 ballots to be printed in this county's elections, knowing that North Carolina is a battleground state. As a commissioner, my responsibilities is to ensure that our constituents have access to a ballot. I believe that we need to focus on the bigger picture, figuratively, and do something, like register voters, ensure that they have access to a valid ID when presenting to the polls, and make sure that we have an election to win, and let's move to a new way forward. I pray this information was insightful for those in the building today, and thank you for allowing me to share.
Is there any other discussion?
If I may.
Mr. Besson.
A few additional comments in addition to what Commissioner McDaniel has shared. There were three specific concerns raised by speakers today regarding this contract. One was the general concern with the need for more involvement of minority and women-owned businesses, historically disadvantaged businesses. That is a perfectly legitimate concern to be raised. This is not the context for that concern in light of the short window of time for us to get ballots printed and serviced. The second question that was raised, I was a bit surprised to hear regarding concerns about historical ballot tampering. To the best of my knowledge, there is no credible suggestion of in ballot tampering involving this company. And I am concerned that without that kind of specific evidence, that references to ballot tampering may play into election denial efforts by those in our national body politic who are determined to only accept outcomes in which their favored candidates win. The third was the issue of a racist trope in a photograph from 1902. I can assure my friends in the community that I do not take circulation of racist tropes lightly. For example, I am extremely concerned with the degree to which false and racist accusations are being levied against immigrant communities on the national stage today. But let's look at the specifics of the concern raised involving O&G Dunn Company, the predecessor to the entity that is being recommended for contracting today. To date, I have seen one photograph representing what today we would consider an offensive racial stereotype, a photograph printed more than a century ago, 1902. I've seen no indication that the Dunn Company's successor is involved in contemporary racist activities or even circulation of racial stereotypes. And in fact, thanks to Commissioner McDaniel's inquiry, we got a copy of the company's corporate policies regarding non-discrimination, particularly as applied to personnel. I've read them. They're in effect today. They seem to me to be both strong and comprehensive. For us to take action against this proposed contractor on the basis of an offensive stereotype from over a century ago would certainly require us, for example, to cease doing business with Ford Motor Company because their founder was a notorious Nazi sympathizer. And in fact, it may require us to cease doing business with ourselves since Forsyth County had until just a few years ago a statue to the Confederate cause that was raised at a time that was contemporary with violent racist overthrow of a municipal government in North Carolina. In other words, there are very few historically clean hands, and we really can't be holding a company today to account, as our election board chair has pointed out, for a photograph 122 years old. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion?
I do. Thank you, Chair Martin. So I would just like to say that I appreciate the citizens of this community coming to raise concerns about this issue. Of course, I did initially share this photograph as an issue of concern at our last meeting. And, you know, the context of which I shared this photograph is definitely rooted in the unfortunate history of not just North Carolina, but this entire country. I want us to really be mindful and sensitive around, with all due respect to Commissioner Bessie, allowing excuses and minimizing historical context that's still in play today. So the effects of what happened 120 years ago is very in alignment with what we see as predominant issues today. So the reasons why we have such concerning data that represent Forsyth County and District A is a direct effect of 250 years of slavery and then another 100 years of Jim Crow. With that being said, what I would like to lastly reference, as this picture showed, it is entitled Satisfied with Life, which depicts a little black boy of New Bern, North Carolina, sitting on a barrel eating watermelon, which is very common, what I call Jim Crow caricature, to promote white supremacy, which was in alignment with the white supremacy campaign of 1898 that was right here in North Carolina. I will share with you that the main goal that came out of this campaign right in the county justice building in Craven, which is the county of course, New Bern, there was a resolution that came out of this planning to implement this white supremacy campaign, which essentially just took back power in North Carolina from anybody that's non-white. So the white supremacy campaign created this resolution. It is the duty of every white person, male and female, to do everything in their power to achieve an honorable deliverance from Negro domination and its accompanying ruin and disgrace. That's just one. The other one I will highlight out of the five, and I, recommend that you as citizens go and read this, that we, the employers of labor, will give preference to white people only in all cases wherever practicable. So that lets you know that there was and has been intentional planning to not only prevent the right for African Americans to vote, but to also make sure that economic power is taken away from non-whites in this country. So I really want to make sure that I emphasize that we do not minimize, that we do not try to provide excuses around a history that is absolutely the facts. And I know that it is uncomfortable, but once we deal with the facts, then we can, as Dr. Pilgrim, who writes a book, Understanding Jim Crow, teach social justice and tolerance through the facts. But as long as we allow for excuses and minimization of what has happened to my ancestors here in North Carolina and through this country, then we are bound to repeat the same thing over and over and over again. So I, with all due respect, ask this commission to reconsider. The Board of Elections Director has given us at least one option as an alternative. Do not allow O&G Dunn, which is the same company just doing business as now Print Select, to at least print our ballots. We can have ES&S print our ballots. And to then ask ES&S, is O&G Dunn doing business as Print Select? Do they have to actually be the only company that can service our equipment? I think that the citizens of this county deserve at least a week of getting information from ES&S to talk about servicing equipment, which that will be needed, in a couple of months. But what's upon us right now, I agree, print the ballots. Let ES&S print the ballots, not O&G Dunn, who printed a photograph that depicts Jim Crow, and that was what was very acceptable at that time, not something that was just, this is for the good of North Carolina history and people. It was very intentional to print that picture and then sell it to citizens across this state as a way to propagate white supremacy and Jim Crow. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing no additional discussion, all in favor, please hold up your hand, please. Those opposed? Motion carries 6-1.
Agenda item number 16 is a resolution authorizing execution of an agreement with I3 Verticals LLC for website and operating system administration and maintenance. This is the system that the Register of Deeds office uses at a cost of $62,200 for fiscal year 25.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion approved by Vice Chair Wizenhut.
Move to approve.
Second by Commissioner McDaniel. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 17 is a resolution authorizing execution of an agreement with Custom Data Processing, Inc. to provide software, record keeping, and workflow system services to the Department of Public Health, Environmental Health Division in an amount not to exceed $52,124.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion approved by Vice Chair Wizenhut, second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 18 is a resolution authorizing execution of an agreement with NeuroAgile Leadership and Workforce Consulting, LLC, doing business as Allies for Outcomes, to provide consulting services for evaluation of the Forsyth County Department of Social Services Child Welfare System. This is in an amount not to exceed $146,365.
Is there we have a motion by Commissioner McDaniel? Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Discussion. Just make one comment. I'd like to thank Krista from our Director of Social Services for a very lengthy memorandum following our discussion from last week, and certainly appreciate her contacting other Director and Social DSS directors across the state, in particular Victor Eisler in Guilford County, because he's worked with both of the consulting firms that we were considering, and I think that the best fit for the services we require is the particular recommended item. So, any additional discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 19 is a resolution authorizing an interlocal agreement with the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Utility Commission for the Rural Hall Highway 65 Waterline Project and an associated amendment to the Pandemic Response Special Revenue Fund to shift the Rural Hall Highway 65 Waterline Extension Project to revenue loss and transfer to the general fund. And C is the amendment to the fiscal year 25 budget ordinance to accept a transfer of $500,000 from the Pandemic Response Special Revenue Fund for the Rural Hall Highway 65 Waterline Extension Project. This was an ARPA-approved project. Essentially, this interlocal agreement authorizes a payment of $15,062.63 to the Utility Commission for use in their construction agreement and sets aside an amount not to exceed $484,937.37 for the use in the project.
Move approval.
Motion approved by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Second by Commissioner Linville. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 20 is a resolution authorizing a second amendment to the agreement with Seth Palmenter, doing business as Motivated Metal. This is a no-cost extension through December 31st, 2024 to install the artwork that was commissioned at the Clemens Library.
Is there a motion? Motion approved by Commissioner McDaniel. I'll be happy to second. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 21 is a resolution authorizing execution of an amendment to the lease agreement between Forsyth County and North Carolina Baptist Hospital for the lease of property located at 501 North Cleveland Avenue. This is for the dental clinic and WIC offices that's on Cleveland Avenue. It occupies 4,496 square feet at an annual rent amount not to exceed $56,694.80.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner McDaniel.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Linville. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
The next items 22 through 37 are appointments, and I'll turn it over to Vice Chair Wizenhut.
Thank you so much. And board members, we're going to do this a bit differently today. This is an experiment, so if you don't like it, you can tell me next time. I'd like to say thank you to Ashley and Rosalind for coming up with this alternative. The following applicants can be appointed by acclamation: Adult Care Home Community Advisory Committee, Natika Butler, Theodore Johnson, Nakia McDaniel, and Logan Thompson. Forsyth County Home Community Care Block Grant Advisory Council, Nakika McDaniel. Forsyth County Juvenile Crime and Prevention Council, Jane Garrity. Industrial Facilities and Pollution Control Financing Authority, Theodore Johnson. Risk Management Advisory Committee, Forsyth County, Kenneth Garrity. Tourism Development Authority, Forsyth County, James Williams. And we could do that by acclamation.
Is there a motion? I guess we can all just, please raise your hand if you're in favor. Thank you.
The following appointments will require a vote. Commission on Ending Homelessness. We don't have to, do we? Since we only had one applicant, and he has already received 2 committees, and you can only serve on 2. I'm sorry. So we will not vote on that. And Environmental Assistant Protection Board is one appointment, and please vote for one, either Brianna Gutierrez Butler and Jamie Myers. Vote for one, please.
You might want to since we didn't include him in the
Okay,
other part.
okay.
But it can be by application.
It is, okay.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
wasn't included in the initial list.
Yeah. I'll go back to the Commission on Ending Homelessness. We did have 2 applicants, and of course, Theodore Johnson had already received 2 appointments, so this one can be approved by acclamation. Conrad Walsh.
All right, all in favor, please just raise your hand for Conrad. Thank you.
Vice Chair Wizenhunt, Jamie Mayer received majority vote.
Okay, thank you. Next is the Library Board. We have 2 appointments for 3-year terms. We have 2 incumbents wishing to serve, Gail Anderson and Mary Cameron. Citizens wishing to serve is Tammy Green, Paul Lawrence, and Myra Wardor. You may vote for 1.
I think we can vote for 2.
I'm sorry, 2.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
Vice Chair Wizenhunt, Gail Anderson, and Mary Cameron received majority votes.
Thank you. The Utility Commission, we have 1 appointment for a 5-year term. Those wishing to serve is Dawn Morgan and Heather Morton, and you may vote for 1.
Vice Chair Wizenhunt, Dawn Morgan received majority vote.
Thank you. Zoning Board of Adjustments, there's 1 appointment for a 3-year term. Those wishing to serve is Mark Hopkinson and Robert Leake III. You may vote for 1.
Vice Chair Wizenhunt, Robert Leake received unanimous vote.
Thank you. And for the Forsyth County Health and Human Services Board, the Health and Human Services Board will consider the applicants at their meeting on October 2nd, 2024, and then it will be brought back to the Commissioners October 3rd, 2024 for our consideration. The following boards have remaining vacancies or did not receive applicants. Madam Clerk, please continue remaining appointments to a future meeting. Adult Care Home Community Advisory Committee, Animal Service Advisory Board, Community on Ending in Homelessness, Community Appearance Commission, Winston-Salem, Forsyth County, Community Child Protection Team, Child Fatality Prevention Team, Forsyth County Home and Community Care Block Grant Advisory Council, Industrial Facilities and Pollution Control Financing Authority, Nursing Home Advisory Committee, Forsyth County, Public Art Commission, City County, Risk Management Advisory Committee, and we did have an applicant for the Tourism and Development. It was Mr. Williamson.
That is correct. There is one more vacancy open on the TDA.
I'm sorry.
That's
Okay.
okay.
Excuse me. And so the clerk will continue to have applications for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Agenda item number 38 is a resolution approving refunds by the tax assessor collector in the amount of $1,956.94.
I'd be happy to make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Linville. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 39 is a resolution acknowledging the submission of the proposed 2025 Schedule of Values, Standards, and Rules for the reappraisal of real property. This essentially kicks off our reappraisal process.
Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Motion approved by Vice Chair Wizenhut, second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda items number 40 and 41 can be taken together. They are our reports. 40 is the July 2024 Appropriation Transfers Report, and 41 is the July Human Resources Report.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner Linville. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
We have three added items. Agenda item number 42 is a resolution adopting a county community grant funding policy to aid in administering community grant funds for nonprofit organizations. This policy will provide direction and a process for staff to follow to manage our grants.
Is there a motion? Motion approved by Commissioner Bessie. Second by Commissioner McDaniel. Any discussion? Oh, no? I'd like to make one comment, just one quick comment. I want to thank Aisha Carter for her hard work on this. It's about 3-4 iterations and amendments, and that's a kind of it's a new process for us, so that was very good. All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 43 is a resolution approving the acquisition by the City of King of real property located in Forsyth County for the purpose of constructing a firehouse in accordance with the provisions of North Carolina General Statute 153A-15. There was a question at last week's meeting in regards to how many residential structures, and for Forsyth County, there are approximately 44 residential structures that are in the 6+ miles of King's existing fire station that would benefit from being within 5 miles of the proposed King Fire Station. And then Old Richmond has approximately 182 residential structures that are in the 6+ miles of Old Richmond's fire station that would benefit from being within 5 miles of the proposed King Fire Station.
Do we have a motion?
So move.
Motion approved by Commissioner Bessie, second by Commissioner Linville. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
And agenda item number 44 is a resolution authorizing execution of an amendment to the standard fire and rescue service agreements with Clemens, Griffith, Gumtree, Hornytown, Louisville, Mineral Springs, Old Richmond, Piney Grove, Salem Chapel, Vienna, and Walkertown volunteer fire departments to serve Forsyth County Tax and Service District. This would provide a 1-year extension of their previous contracts, which will allow time for our committee to meet and provide recommendations.
Happy to make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Linville. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Those are all of the items for the meeting, Mr. Chair.
I think we're ready to jump into a briefing session. I'll declare our regular meeting adjourned.
5 minutes.
Oh, we need a 5-minute recess.
Please.
All right. We can take a 5-minute recess and we'll return. Started and welcome everyone to our September 19th, 2024 briefing. And I will mention, I'm going to say for Chris's item, and then I'm actually going to, I have a reception to go to in Chapel Hill I need to go to tonight. So we are ready?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So our items for consideration for the October 3rd, 2024 meeting, we will brief our public hearing items, and then I will introduce the remaining items. Our first item is a public hearing on the zoning petition from RS9 to GBS and associated amendments for the zoning ordinance and zoning map. This is zoning docket F1643. Our planning director, Chris Murphy, will brief this item.
Thank you, Madam Manager. Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the Board of Commissioners. You made a wise decision not reading all those names. I'm not going to either. But this is a rezoning request of 5.64 acres located on the southeast at the southeast intersection of Peters Creek Parkway and Fishel Road, and the request is to go from RS9 to GBS special use. Here is the subject property shown on the Legacy Growth Management Area Plan. It's located within GMA 3, and it is very close to the county line, Forsyth County, Davidson County line, kind of across the road from the Griffith Fire Department. This is the subject property highlighted in yellow. Again, on the south side of Fishel Road, east of the Peters Creek Parkway intersection. There is some existing GBS property directly to the southwest. Subject property shown on the countywide aerial imagery, the property outlined in yellow. There are a few existing single-family homes there and it will make a little more sense whenever I show some of the site photos in a minute. On the remnant of where Fishel Road used to go through, Fishel Road used to come through at a angle, and it on the southwest side of Peters Creek Parkway was at an angle, and those over the intersection over the course of time has been realigned. But where these existing homes are on the old right-of-way for Fishel Road whenever it was at an angle. Subject property shown on the South Suburban Area Plan update. This area had a recommendation predominantly for commercial. The easternmost portion did have a recommendation for high density or moderate density residential attached product up to 18 units per acre. They actually do have that on there as one of the uses, but the site plan does not show multifamily, but it does show two different commercial businesses. So we still feel like that this is in compliance with the recommendations of the area plan. This is looking west along Fishel Road. The subject property is to the left. That is part of that remnant of the old right-of-way for Fishel Road. That is looking southwest. That is the Fishel Road public right-of-way that remains from the previous alignment of Fishel Road. This right-of-way will have to be closed as part of this petition because the development is located within this right-of-way. This is looking north along Peters Creek Parkway. The subject property is to the right. This is looking south along Peters Creek Parkway. The subject property is to the left. And this is looking directly at the subject property from Peters Creek Parkway. Those are two existing residential structures that are part of the request. So these single-family homes will go away if this is approved. This is the overall site plan. I will zoom in to show a little more context. Of course, at the northern portion of this slide is Fishel Road, and then on the left or west side is the existing Peters Creek Parkway. The northernmost building is proposed as a drive-through coffee establishment. The southernmost proposed structure is for a car wash. The request is generally consistent with the land use recommendations of Legacy 2030 and the South Suburban Area Plan update. While the proposed site plan shows commercial uses, the requested list of uses for this rezoning does include a mixture of retail, service, and residential uses, typically desired in an activity center. The request proposes a site design that places commuter-oriented commercial uses along Peters Creek Parkway away from single-family uses. This was heard by the planning board last month at their August 8th, 2024 public hearing. There were no speakers in opposition, and following the public hearing, the planning board did vote unanimously to recommend approval to the Board of County Commissioners. And with that, I'm available to answer any questions.
Any questions for Chris?
One, whatever road improvements that might need to be made, the state regulates that if there are any more than what work they've done.
Correct.
Okay.
There is a comment, I'm sure, on the NCDOT comments of the review of the site plan that says that they will have to have a driveway permit. It may actually specify some of the improvements that are to be done, but then also if there are changing conditions, the driveway permit can be expanded to require additional things as well.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 2 is a public hearing on the proposed 2025 Schedule of Values, Standards, and Rules for the reappraisal of real property in Forsyth County in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 105-317. Our tax assessor collector John Burgess will brief this item.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. On October 3rd, we'll have a public hearing on the proposed 2025 Forsyth County Uniform Schedule of Values, Standards, and Rules. This hearing is specific to the documents that make up that schedule. I wanted to share with you, if I could, just the timeline. I can show you right there. You just acknowledged receipt in your previous meeting. Public inspection will begin on the document tomorrow, and then the public hearing will be on October 3rd. So it just gives you an idea of the meetings we have and getting the schedule adopted. It's available in our office for public inspection on the first floor of the Government Center. The purpose of the schedule is to provide guidance and a framework for the completing of real estate or real property appraisals for those making such appraisals, such as our staff. The schedule of values consists of many construction rates for both residential and commercial properties. I also wanted to show, if I could, something else. I don't know if that'll be on there, but one of the things that I want to show you some highlights from the schedule of values. The North Carolina Department of Revenue gives us guidance as to the sales that we use in analyzing real estate transactions to help guide us in what property is worth. And so the way they tell us to do that is they tell us the sales not to use. And so we do not use sales that are between related parties or at auction sales, things like that. So just wanted the public to know there's a list of transactions that we would not use in analyzing sales to understand the real estate market here in Forsyth. On page 5 in the schedule of values, there are statutory requirements regarding the uniform appraisal standards, and that's essentially that we are to appraise all property at its true value in money, meaning that's the estimated sales price or hypothetical sales price of each property as of January 1st of 2025. We also have to meet statistical standards. And so I wanted to share those with you. That's the bottom of page 5. And those are standards that analyze the sales that we do use and make sure that we are meeting parameters for the assessment level, which is to be 100% of fair market value. Also the goodness of fit, which is the coefficient of dispersion measurement, and also a measure to guard against any kind of progressiveness or regressiveness in our assessments, and that's called the PRD. So those standards exist, and so statistically we have to meet those in performing our duties. Other pages describe how we do land appraisals, the land use schedules for use value properties, the cost approach, the income approach, sales comparison approach, and also helps the public understand and our staff understand the difference between real property and personal property. And that gets into things like business properties where they have business components that are part of the structure, and what is real estate and what is personal property. So be happy to answer any questions you may have.
John, no questions. I just wanted to confirm, I know that these rules come from the state. And
Those standards that I mentioned, yes, they come, well, they actually are proposed by the IAAO, International Association of Assessing Officers. And so as adopting the schedule of values, you are adopting those standards and setting those as the standards.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, John. Agenda item number 3 is a resolution recognizing October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month and recognizing the efforts of Bridges to Hope Family Justice Center of Forsyth County. Staff from Family Justice Center and partners will be here to accept that resolution at the meeting. Agenda item number 4 is a resolution to direct fiscal year 25 expenditures of opioid settlement funds to amended strategies and an associated amendment to the North Carolina Opioid Settlement Special Revenue Fund to reallocate funds for fiscal year 25. We'll have approval of our minutes from today will be sent out prior to the next meeting. And then we have several ARPA funding items. Agenda item number 6 will be a resolution authorizing execution of an amendment to the agreement between Habitat for Humanity to provide down payment assistance for homes using ARPA funds. This is just extending the time frame of an already approved ARPA contract. 7 is a resolution authorizing execution of an amendment to the agreement between Old Salem for restoration and improvements to buildings related to Old Salem's Hidden Towns project using ARPA funds. Again, this will be a no-cost extension of their existing agreement. And 8 is a resolution authorizing execution of an amendment to the agreement between the YWCA of Winston-Salem and Forsyth County to purchase a minivan and replace or repair buses for the Best Choice Center using ARPA funds, another extension. And then we'll have several contracts. Agenda item number 9 will actually be pulled into the next cycle, so we won't do it this meeting. Agenda item number 10 is a resolution selecting and awarding a contract to HDR Engineering, Inc. of the Carolinas for industrial site identification and evaluation services. 11 will be a resolution authorizing execution of an agreement with LabCorp of America Holdings to provide off-site testing for the Department of Public Health. And 12 is a resolution approving the renewal of DocuSign Enterprise electronic digital signature services. And then we'll have the appointments for the Health and Human Services Board, tax collector, refunds by the tax assessor and collector, and a report. So a fairly shorter agenda this next time.
That'll be nice. Next week, they'll go into far more details about the items. But if you have questions this week, don't hesitate to call staff. And let me remind the commissioners that next Thursday morning, we will walk a mile for our babies. So are there any other, go ahead.
Just, when you get finished with, I got information.
Go ahead.
This is for Commissioner Bessie. He may already know about it, and former county manager Watts. I read in the Kernersville paper, and I laid it up, and I was going to bring you a copy of it. Is the Postal Service, you probably already know this because you stay up with those kind of things. The Postal Service has already put into place, I don't know how many thousand, several of electric delivery vehicles, and they're in Georgia somewhere. I forgot what town it was. I'm not sure it's Atlanta, but it's in Georgia, and they got more to come. So all that likes electric vehicles, you're going to be seeing them sooner or later. And if you live in the further south, Georgia was the only place I saw it. Was that correct?
That's what I saw.
Georgia's the only place, and I don't recall what town, but I don't think it was Atlanta. But maybe it's Atlanta. Anyway, I thought you might like it. I didn't want to take a chance on you not knowing about it.
I appreciate it.
Vice Chair Wisenhunt, I did want to remind all of you, as well as our staff and community, that on Saturday we have our 4th annual Forsyth Fun Fest from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. On our Health and Human Services campus in front of in the parking lot of DSS and Public Health, 799 North Highland Avenue. So please come out and join us and have some fun.
We will. Are there any other updates from commissioners or staff? Okay, we are adjourned. I can find it.